the school that brought you the resistance for the CRT to the school board. And we have just a little bit more coming right up. Hope you guys are doing well. And this is a test, an alleged test. So we'll see what happens here. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this 11th hour Testy but Black Spring with Autumn. I just have a couple of things here for you, and I know it says Jukebox Saturday night on the infographic here, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that much jukeboxing here because, for one, I suppose I would get a copyright strike, and rightfully so. So thank you so much if you're tuning in, if you're considering tuning in, thank you so much. And if you're a voyeur, we appreciate you considering tuning in to Black Spring with Autumn on this testy but jukebox Saturday night. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And also, we'll go ahead and have our usual order of business where we have our Twitch honor roll, and just to thank our patrons, subscribers, and of course, viewers like you on this Saturday. And hello, Zero the Infinite. How are you? And I think I spotted you, Zero the Infinite, on one. I think I spotted you in one of the KB live streams. So yeah, just a tidbit on that. But I will be right back right after this. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Yes. I admit the deed. And hello once again to Zero the Infinite. He says that, yes, he saw me at the Mama's Cooking. Yeah. What can I say? What can I say? It's unlike anything else that I think is on YouTube. And I don't think you would see anything else similar to this, of course, not on mainstream. So, if you can get past the profanity, some dare I say racial epithets, whatever, if you get past those, then you might actually take something away. You said, yes, because it's, I think I was a little, you said I was really aggressive there. Yeah, but it's only because, it's not often that I get to be on the other side, and I don't know exactly what aggression was I showing, and in what regard specifically was I showing aggression. So I mean, but nobody, it was going unnoticed. Of course, I think you're probably one of the only ones. You're probably one of the only ones that noticed any of that. But I don't know. I don't know. I think it was, it's a good time. It's a good time. If not now, when? So yeah, you guys. And honestly, if I could have, just say for instance, if you guys could have your own jukebox favorite, your jukebox favorite, maybe just place one of them in the stream. Like, I don't know, right now I'm having kind of a mid 1990s kind of a weekend. I don't know, dare I say Batman Return, or something at mid 1990s, something like that. If I could do the jukebox, it would probably be mid 1990s on the jukebox. But we're going to keep going here. So we've got two things that developed, I think, towards the, dare I say, midweek, or maybe towards the end of the week. Yeah, cook. Yeah, I want to see about the cooking. Yeah, I mean, I'm well versed. I've heard that talk. I grew up around, you know, either one intensity or another. I mean, maybe not. I mean, it's very unique. The delivery, when somebody, when you're, if you have a Southern upbringing, or if you have Southern family members, or I you're used to being around men, so it's not like, oh, well, whether you stumble onto something, or whether they're just having a good time, but you get, to me, some of those, I've said this before, some of the best lessons that I learned in life were the lessons that I kind of stumbled onto. I stumbled onto some of that conversation or discourse, and I was always happy to pick up the little pieces where available. But I don't know. But yeah, I was, yeah. Please keep cooking. KB and JB, cook. I know. I was, yeah. I mean, because I was also, I think some of that was me responding to some of the responses in the chat, which I still think it's sad that some people still think that this is he's solely speaking to he's solely speaking to those from the entertainment, and those that have disparaged him. But it's not. It's really not. I don't think. I think this was his segue. I think they kind of opened the door. I think they opened the door for him to say, "Hey, look, this is enough. It's time to level up, or it's time for you guys to step up or step off, because you guys are living in a dream, or you're selling a fairy tale. Why can't people just be? Why can't you present a strong male where available? And why do grown men, and what we get when we see a male, we see somebody that's projecting something that's not reality, something that's still a part of the machine, or something that's detrimental, or something that's going to lead to self-destruction. I'm so it's very satiating for him to bring these things out, because I've wondered about those things over the years. Like, I don't really watch or follow NBA or NFL. It seems like I've tuned into it a little bit more now. And I think that's because, some other dynamics going on in our world. But as I pay attention, I'm like, why does everybody have this exterior that is not just straight to the point? Like, can you just be a confident male, and just stop trying to purport something that looks like a thuggy type character, or some type of gangster out of a character? I mean, all of those are caricatures. No, it's just not real, but it's also irresponsible. So I think, he's speaking to a whole lot of nonsense, that's been going on. And these are, people used to refer to athletes, and they used to, like, years ago, as more role models. But I don't see that anymore. I don't see. I mean, clearly things have changed. Okay. All those, the NBA, of course, NFL, all those institutions have changed. I think the quality, the character of those that are a part of those institutions right now, it's totally different. I mean, and I know I'm totally on about, on that right now. But I also noticed that, if you look at the NBA, I mean, not the NBA, if you look at even the NFL right now, most of the guys have long hair, like dreadlocks or something, and it's very effeminate. It's very effeminate. I've seen man buns or man toodles, ponytails, he half up, half down on the field. And I think you might need to start, you could probably start there also and just say, hey, can you guys just, I don't think I have an issue with like, maybe, of course, back in the day, maybe you see one or two guys with long hair, but it's absolutely a dominating kind of a trend. I mean, you could think about just about anybody. Um, Many of these guys have, shag length, or they have super long dreads. And I'm just thinking, I would think that even that would be a little bit counterproductive to the sport. And guys are playing and twisting and twiddling and fiddling with their hair more than even women. So I think there's a lot to be said, for what he's on about. And it's not just, is anybody going to listen to me or to the average person talking about these things? No, but like I said, he's exposed so many things. And but unfortunately, out of everything that he's exposing, you still have some people that still just, I don't know. And I don't mean to disparage anyone, but I mean, are you guys just really incompetent? Just, you know, he's laying this out for you. He's laying so many things out for you. Please pick up one of these things and stop looking for the entertainment. And some of them, they love the back and forth between, you know, the initial, starter, which were, of course, some of these other people, in that industry, and the talking heads on the sports centers, and, but it's just so much bigger than that. And, you get your trolls, the troll babies and the voyeurs, and you get all of that. It's very interesting. It's interesting to see people respond to it, but I still think that out of everything that he's delivering, you still have people that they want to get that group thinking going. They keep going back to that. They don't realize that he's talking more about an individual. And if he's talking about a free thinker, he's talking about an individual thinker. He's talking about an introspective. He's talking about an internal, a reflection. You're looking back at yourself so that you can go forward. But you still have people in the chat that they haven't, their trajectory is, to me, is they're listening to him because I think they understand that there's truth to what he's saying, but I don't think that they're making the correlations. I don't think they're connecting the dots. And that's unfortunate. It's, a lot of people just think, this is he's just some kind of Southern bozo up there that's just rambling and talking and, da 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 da. But, it's, probably some of these people are cringing because they've never heard anybody, they've never been around anybody that's spoke like that, or spoke about anything, or said, hey, this is garbage. You can't be successful with this weak, with this, with your horrible altitude, because your attitude is, you're sinking. You're not making it with such a defeatist attitude. And the victimhood is like, you have people that want to find, they look for victimhood everywhere. And yeah, you have that. So yeah, so that's, that's the KB. I guess that's the KB tip. So I'll read some of your comments now that I've been on about that for a second. But I do have two things. I have two things. One is that, of course, the lords on Facebook, the overlords on Facebook, have given everybody permission to, talk about the controversy, regarding the CV-19, which is, are we supposed to thank them for that? I don't know, but I'm just saying that's one of the stories that I have. And the second one would be, let's see, the second story that I have would be in reference to it comes from the Loudon school, the same school that brought you the parent that was, letting them know that critical race theory was not acceptable, and basically that wasn't the last you were going to hear of them. So it looks like some of the teachers are saying, look, this is not going to work here. Um, so yeah, the pronouns will not be acceptable from that school as well. So I don't know. It looks like we're on to something there, but let me read some of your comments. I'm sorry I'm rambling a little bit, but thank you so much for tuning in. And Zero the Infinite says that's the no filter Southern way because most Southerners don't like being that raw and unfiltered politeness is more used. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it just depends. I mean, you can get you have like two different, there's at least two different approaches. There's more than that, to just shooting it straight with somebody. Um, but he also does it he is very satirical the way he does things too. I think he's actually kind of skilled in what he's doing. He's serious, but he's also just, he comes up with these clever caricatures of all of these personalities, and tries to bring people back to, not only some common ground, but bring them back to some level of dignity in their male authority. And yeah, the thing, like I said, dare I say, when I was growing up, we didn't have to have these kinds of conversations. You might hear every now and then somebody say, "Oh, well, these kids today, to me, it's so much worse than that right now." And some people actually understand it. Unfortunately, some people, they don't really understand anything other than they understand the way he's talking. They understand the profanity, they understand the colloquialisms, they understand the slang, they understand it all. And in fact, I even had some colleagues of mine say years ago, you can't be nice to even the schools, or you can't be nice to these kids. They don't understand one thing, but I can't personally break out of my break, you know, you know, dis preserve myself to talk to the kids that way, because that's not who I am. That's not what I do. I think that's, to me, that's the home talk. That's the uncle talk. That's the grandpa talk. That's your dad talking. That's your dad. That's your uncle. That's your grandpa talking to you. And most of the time they don't sugarcoat things. I mean, at least my family didn't. They weren't the sugarcoating time. So pretty much, you kind of get it straight like that. You might get it raw all the time. You get a couple of different levels of raw, but it's always, you know, but it's always going to be raw, and it's going to be direct. They're not going to be mousy with it. But, it's his style. It's not mine. And, but, I can, like I said, I can learn something from anybody. And Zero to Infinite says, Kwame is exposing the organization and making people show themselves without actually having to make them do it. Yet Stephen A. do a whole segment dedicated to Kwame to make him look emotional. Yeah, I think I'm still catching up on some of those. I am catching up. And he said all it showed that Kwame was right about him. Yeah, I can see that too. That guy I don't know. To his point, I think that character that you just described, I think he's imitating somebody. And I think, Brown even basically said, it's a female, you're imitating a female somewhere. So that's basically how you're keeping your job, is by humiliating, other people with a female caricature, that's what you're doing. And it sells, it works. But that's not it. He didn't stop there, but I think he's right on with that, because I've never seen so many men yelling and screaming in all my life. Even some of the elders have taken up that screaming and yelling and being emotional, and I was just like, what is going on here? You sound like a woman. Who am I talking to? Who am I listening to right now? But yeah, you get to be a little bit chatty. He says most people are incompetent and don't even realize the knowledge he's putting out. Yeah, and to me that is you're right on with that. And I think that comes from, that's a literacy kind of an issue. They've not been exposed to, they only have one perspective. They're fed everything and they don't have their own, they don't really have their own, arsenal of perspectives to draw on. They've got, the mainstream media, these talking heads, whatever the kids are doing in school, whatever social media is doing, they're very limited. And I think they would be able to receive, they would be in a position to receive some of the real message if they had more perspective. But it's very limited. Their background is too limited, unfortunately. And he's going to reach some people for the greater good, and some people are just going to, dare I say, they'll just bow out, or they'll end up just kind of fading out, because the work that I think that needs to be done is not just, it's not just about tangible things that people should do in communities. It's also, I think, up here that it needs to happen. It needs to be, yeah, we're talking about, improving people's critical thinking. And he made a comment about that not too long ago. Like, I mean, you notice that they don't want you asking any questions or questioning anything, or they don't substantiate anything that they say. So yeah, so hang on just one second. Let me read some more of your comments here. Hello, DJ Vision Barnett. Thanks so much for tuning in. And and I think, to another point, I think it's intentional that, and I've said this before, that that we the people, as he says, and rightfully so, he identifies, we're dumbed down. And I think it's done intentionally, because when you're dumbed down, there's little or no opposition on there. You don't get that much opposition when you don't quite, when your perspective, I think, is lower. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think some of them, they get to a point where they just want to appease a teacher to get what they want, whether it's a grade, or whether it's the Disneyland, or the Six Flags trip. I mean, I've had students come to me and say, "Hey, I want to go to Six Flags. Can we work on this?" And it's always my goal to help students reach their personal goals. It's not to make them, oh, do you want to study music, or do you want to do something professionally with music, if they say that. But, it's usually after some time I start to figure out, what their goal is, or if it's the parent that's bringing them here after they're, it's like, okay, you just came here from tennis or some other lesson, and now you got nothing left for me right now. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what we can do. But yeah, but what am I on about? I'm saying that, there's just not a lot of, I don't think there's a lot of critical thinking going on. And I think it's kind of discouraged, I think, in some ways. You do what I say, for however many weeks in the semester. And then you go on to the next. And then I had professors to tell me, oh, yeah, do like this right now. When you get out, you can do whatever you want. And so, that's what happens. But I think a lot of institutions are like that. You do what we tell you to do. And then when you get out, you can do whatever you want. But for now, or think about it like this, or else. So you don't have a lot of choices. So hello to Old School Wolf Media. Thank you so much for coming in. And so for those of you who are coming in, we're just chopping it up a little bit about we're chopping it up a little bit about the KB, that's Kwame Brown. And I didn't even get into that session with Judge Joe Brown. That thing was fully loaded. But yeah, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think I think it's going to keep going, but I think some people will, they'll, what do they say? You'll be weeded out. I think in a situation like this, it doesn't take long. It really won't, because they'll, it'll fizzle. And then, dare I say, what is it they say? Don't mock me on this one. The real ones will stay. And then the rest of them will just kind of, they'll go back to their to their usual suspects. And who knows? Maybe it's a Sports Center or the other podcast. Maybe they won't. I don't know. I'm saying chances are when things get a little when things get a little academic, that's when some people kind of fold up like a paper bag, and that's unfortunate. So yeah, just maybe say hi to everybody that's come in. As I just had a couple of stories, and yeah, it's not much of a jukebox considering the level of censorship. So yeah, but if you have a tune that you would put in and say, hey, if I could have a tune played on the jukebox, put your tune in. I'm like in the mid 90s right now. Batman Returns. Batman Returns, I think. Somewhere in there. That era. Okay, so DJ Vision Barnett's here, and he says his laptop crashed on his way. That's why I haven't gone live for long now. Okay. Well, stuff happens. Yeah. Well, I have issues with my computer regularly. In fact, I think my iPad, I think it's done. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, if I'm going to repair it or just get another one. Who knows? Who else do we have? DJ says might be coming in on the phone until I get it fixed. All right. Well, thanks for the update. Thanks for coming around. And of course, hello again to Old School Wolf Media. And Zero to Infinite says people were incompetent way before the internet. Most people just don't want to think, but it's just easier for them to really let go of any responsibilities that comes with free thinking. You had, honestly, that chat had, speaking to that chat yesterday had like 40, at one point it was almost to hit 45,000 people. But then, good night, Old School Wolf Media. Nice to see you. And the Native Conservative, how are you? I'm hanging around. Yep, hanging around. But yeah, so yeah, but I was saying, I think there were some people in that chat yesterday that were, they talked about Trump. Trump's name came up quite a few times. And I think, of course, Candace's name came up a bunch of times. And, I was waiting for, the trolls. I think the trolls came in, like the troll babies. They really, they piled on. But, they won't last long, very, very long on there. Right now, I don't think he has any mods. And I think he's going to want to, change that. But, we'll see. I think he's getting, dare I say, he's getting some kind of, he's got some social media credit right now. Like he's some relevance right now. And that's just me speaking. I'm not saying that he was not relevant no matter what these other people say, but he's got enough relevance right now that, people are looking. And like I said, everybody's going to come around and take their little bites. But it's going to be on him to that discernment. We're going to see how good Mama's cooking is. If your discernment is up where it needs to be, you got to get your discernment game up, because I think he knows, but we'll see. Not, just sidestep some landmines with the attention that you're going to get, because some of it's not going to be, I don't know if it's going to be, all of it's going to be fruitful, or if it will be, I don't know. Will it be more hateration or sabotage? I don't know. We'll see. But it's very interesting. It's very savory. So, all right. So I was talking to Zero the Infinite, and we were talking about the KB. That's AKA Kwame Brown. He also came up. Was it Jason Whitlock mentioned him on the Glenn Beck program? So yeah. So he's getting a little bit of buzz there, but. Let me get to what I'm on about here. Got a couple of stories for you guys here. And one of the stories that I have is, okay, so of course the lords of Facebook say, oh, you can talk about the CB19. Like, oh, should we thank them for that? So yeah, now you can talk about, the CV-19, and you can doubt it's I don't know, its makeup and how it came about. I'm not a biologist or a virologist, so you can play with that. So we'll look at that just a second. But also we have a story from the JBS in which the same school that from was it Loudoun County, Virginia, that were not really tolerating the CRT, and they had this pretty explosive board meeting in which the parents showed up. Looks like the teachers at the school may not be dealing with the pronouns so much. So just those things. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and go first. Let's go over to Facebook first, and we'll see. We'll see if you can get a grasp or a handle on what you're allowed to say about. Native Conservative says clowns. All right, so let's see what the clown world has for us. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to give you full scale on this. And this, of course, comes from our friends over at the JBS. And we'll just have a quick word from our friends there.
This segment of our show is brought to you by our good friends at the John Birch Society. Less government, more responsibility, and with God's help, a better world. The JBS is a constitutional and educational organization that's been around for over 60 years, dedicated to upholding and defending the Constitution and working to preserve our freedoms and liberties in this country. The JBS does not endorse any political party or candidates. Rather, it focuses on the education, training, and development of the American voters.
All right, so I'm going to take you to this story right now. All right, once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Okay, so on this one, all right, we have this from the TNA. That is the New American for those of you who are new around here. According to this, a Virginia teacher won't use fake names and pronouns on, quote, transgender, end quote, students. The schools put him on leave. All right, so this is penned by, or the penship of R. Kirkwood. All right, so you have a graphic here. According to this, a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl. And if the leftist school marms in Loudoun County, Virginia, don't like the fact, gym teacher Byron, quote, Tanner, end quote, Cross told them, tough luck. Cross will not, he told the school board, address misguided, quote, transgender, end quote, kids with bogus names and pronouns, period. And so the board suspended the deviationist until it can reckon what to do about him. Quote, gender, end quote, madness in grade schools. The trouble began as usual with leftist politicians trying to jam the latest cultural revolution down the throats of normal people. At a school board meeting on Tuesday, the Loudoun Times-Mirror reported Cross attacked the school board's draft of policy 8040, quote, rights of transgender and gender expansive students, end quote. That's a thick suit. The schools are adopting, quote, transgender, end quote, ideology to comply with directives from the hard left Virginia Board of Education. Among other things, the policy announces that, quote, LCPS staff shall allow gender expansive or transgender students to use their chosen name and gender pronouns that reflect their gender identity without any substantiating evidence, end quote. And, quote, school staff at the request of the student or parent, legal guardian, when using a name or pronoun to address the student, use the name and pronoun that correspond to their gender identity, end quote. As well, the policy offers this ominous warning. The use of gender-neutral pronouns are appropriate Inadvertent slips in the use of names or pronouns may occur. However, staff or students who intentionally or persistently refuse to respect the student's gender identity by using the wrong name and gender pronoun are in violation of this policy. Uh-oh. Cross, who teaches at Leesburg Elementary, stepped to the podium at Tuesday's school board meeting to oppose the lunacy. Quote, I'm speaking out of love for those who suffer from gender dysphoria, end quote, Cross said. Quote, 60 Minutes this past Sunday interviewed over 30 young people who transitioned, but they felt not led astray because of lack of pushback or how easy it was to make physical changes to their bodies in just 3 months. They are now detransitioning. It's not my intention to hurt anyone, but there are certain truths that we must face when ready. We condemn school policies like 80-40 and 80-35 because it would damage children and defile the holy image of God. I love all of my students, but I will never lie to them regardless of the consequences. I'm a teacher, but I serve God first, and I will not affirm that a biological boy can be a girl, and vice versa, because it's against my religion. It's lying to a child, it's abuse to a child, and it's sinning against God. Now, apparently, it looks like we have the testimonial here. So we'll see how the AI treats me when I hit the play button on this. Now, this is coming from Michael S. Miller, and this is the Loudoun County School Board who just put a school teacher on administrative leave for stating he would not teach LGBTQ because it violates his Christian principles. So I'll throw a little caution to the wind here and, get it from the horse's mouth, as they say. All right, and I guess before I do that, let's see who else has chimed in on this. How are you guys doing? Hi, Joseph Francis Burton. Thank you so much for coming in. He says, deviationist. I have never heard that word before. It almost sounds like, quote, a heretic, quote. Yes. It's a thick, right? Thick. All right. And Native Conservative says, one of the biggest reasons I left the left, besides all other things I couldn't understand, such as BLM and Antifa, I never agreed on the transgender, quote, language, end quote, or their push on society. Yes. It's they tend to apply the language to everything. They give kids language for things that they don't speak. So that's kind of the indoctrination, right? The language it's the language kind of makes them think that they're experts, or that they are aware, or they have the experience to deal with such confusion or ideology. But I'm going to go ahead and press the button on this. All right, you guys, brace yourselves.
Byron Cross.
This is the phys ed.
My name is Tanner Cross, and I am speaking out of love for those who suffer with gender dysphoria. 60 Minutes this past Sunday interviewed over 30 young people who transitioned, but they felt led astray because lack of pushback or how easy it was to make physical changes to their bodies in just 3 months. They are now detransitioning. It's not my intention to hurt anyone, but there are certain truths that we must face when ready. We condemn school policies like 80-40 and 80-35 because it will damage children, defile the holy image of God. I love all of my students, but I will never lie to them regardless of the consequences. I'm a teacher, but I serve God first, and I will not affirm that a biological boy can be a girl and vice versa, because it's against my religion, it's lying to a child, it's abuse to a child, and it's sinning against our God.
Okay, so there you had the phys ed teacher, Mr. Cross, defending his position, and he seems to be unwavering in that. So I'm going to keep going here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn, and I'm going to keep going here. So you have your statement there, and of course you do have a statement from 60 Minutes broadcast. It discussed came under heavy fire from the alphabet community. Okay, so I don't think there's any clips on that, but according to this, we'll go into the reaction from here. Reaction, of course, the school board couldn't accept the deviationism. There's another ism for you. Are you guys taking notes? This language is heavy. Deviationism. It placed Cross on paid administrative leave 2 days later. The newspaper reported, quote, I'm contacting you to let you know that one of our physical education teachers, Tanner Cross, is on leave beginning this morning, end quote. LES principal Sean Lacey said in a Thursday email to parents. The email continued, quote, I wanted you to know this because it may affect your students' school routine. Because this involves a personal matter, I can offer no further information. Okay, given that Cross said he would not address students by the wrong name and pronoun because of his Christian faith, there remains a question. Does the board's action trespass the First Amendment to the Constitution? If the Constitution forbids school to require prayer, as leftists claim, does it permit schools to force Christians to reject their faith or face punishment? So we'll see what happens there. It seems like Loudoun County, they are. Seems like they're standing up in as many areas as they can, and we'll see what happens. I think that could be a long something that's drawn out, and then it could probably set precedents. I do think that there's probably going to end up being a lot of suits coming out, lawsuits coming out of these things. I'm not sure which angle. I'm not a counselor of any sort, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Because they're dealing with CRT there, and now this. So who knows? I mean, what's the policy for your guys' kids, your schools right now? I mean, or do they just kind of slide these things in, and then when it comes up, oh, this is what it is, deal with it? And Joseph Francis Burton says, I was a bullied misfit back in high school. God knows what I would have done to myself if gender transitioning was socially acceptable and even encouraged back in 1978, the way it is today. I don't know. I just know that my assertion here would be that my assertion here would be that lying and doing things to appease children who are developing and experiencing a lot of things and going through different emotions and at different times in their lives is self-destructive. So I just don't know what society's going to do with this, with so much, disruption and so much, and how much crazy do we have to participate in, I guess is what I'm on about. Like, how much of your craziness do I have to participate in? And if I get it wrong, then I'm going to be punished for it. I don't know. It's not like they have a ton of people that are going into education as it is. And I do think that some of these issues are going to add to the shortage that, that's already out there, that already exists, because people just, I don't even know what the curriculums look like anymore, or what the practicum looks like for a teacher right now. What psychology classes are you taught to teach? Are you taught to submit to, to delusions? I mean, I don't know. It's bizarre, and it's to me, it's deviant and it's irresponsible. It is. So good luck to them on that. But it's also just another testament to what's happening nationally, that these theories are creeping in, and this tolerance and all of this stuff it's just beyond tolerance at this point. Joseph Francis Burton says it is a great moral cowardice in failing. Roger Dodger. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick little break, and we're going to come back, and I guess we're going to be thankful for what the overlords at Facebook hey, they said they said you can talk about the CV-19 now and its origins, and it's, yeah, you can talk about it now. So I don't know, what I say about us conspiracy theorists. Yeah, I say they've been looking pretty good for a long time. And so I guess now the demand for validating conspiracy theorists is it's pretty high right now. So, but we've already been through this before. But I've said it before, it's kind of like Groundhog's Day on these alternative news sources, and those who write for those editorials, and yeah. So I will be right back. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hey guys, it's Black Spring with Autumn here. And if you'd like to help us out with our AI and dissemination of the stream campaign, please hit that like, unlike, dare to throw caution to the wind by sharing, or just making sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. And I want to thank you for your ultimate and baseline level support here on Black Spring with Autumn. And we'll be right back right after this. This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, or music, please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Marcy T., Joseph Francis Burton, Paralysis by Analysis, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back right after this. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and hello to Philip J. Turner. It's nice to have you around. Thanks so much for coming in. It looks like you have a comment for us. And Philip J. Turner is coming in with, I'm glad that they are coming up with laws concerning genders in school athletics. It is not fair to either gender to have to compete with gender-altered students, especially women, not accepting trans children on their teams or opponents' teams. It says, I'm in Tennessee, so this state is doing what it can with proper thought on the subject. It's really, I just, I'm not sure if anybody, how much of this, how much can we preempt on this? Because it's just the lunacy is real. You can't, there's just really no end to what they will promote. But it's not surprising, because look what the administration promoted prior to Biden said that he would support the transgendering of children. So I'm not surprised, but I don't think that these school districts were, proactive in creating their measures, because I think maybe they would have had something in place, or I have no idea. Like when you say, for instance, going back into school days here, I remember getting a code of conduct, and especially if there were new things added to the code of conduct, the teacher was kind of expected to review the new policies, or whether it was code of conduct or whether it was policies. And I would imagine that something like that should have kind of gone out to the students' parents before the school year, before they, with all the virtual and all the CV-19. This has just been like the perfect storm for chaos. So I have no way of knowing how they could have, prepared for this in advance. But it's certainly a culture shock, but then it's also being rammed down people's throats. So I'm not sure how are we supposed to have some type of, productive or gregarious, society if we have so much lunacy and so much delusion that we're all participating in. Because, when you hit that doctor's office, you're going to have to deal with what's actually there. And YouTube, you guys got to do your thing, but I just have to tell the truth here. I'm not bashing people, but I'm saying, but there are, you can live in as many delusions as you want, but you will be met with reality. Reality will be waiting for you where, how much, no matter how much you change, it'll be waiting on you when you get to the next bus stop. So that's all that's what I'm on about. All right, let me read a couple of comments and then we're going to go on to, Facebook. All right, and Joseph Francis Burton says you should read the bill Texas just signed into law. The media says it bans critical race theory in Texas schools, but the text of the bill is just bans teaching any basic racial inequality. So it sounds like that one doesn't go far enough. So that's what I'm saying. It's like you almost need an entire section. I would imagine that there's, what do you think the woke universities, are they training? Is there transgender law, or can you major in transgender law or CRT? Get your law degree in that, because that's an entirely different, a new sector or new industry for people to, whether they're on the defense of these things that are going on, of these ideologies and these, theories, or it's definitely going to be, it's a whole nother, I guess that's their way. I guess that's the left's way of creating jobs, huh? They stimulate the economy with creating, new precedents for laws and delusions, I guess. So let me keep going here. And Joseph Francis Burton says, and of course, it's considered racist. And Zero the Infinite says, I live in Tennessee as well, and I hope they don't allow this crap in the schools here. And Milan Geesing, how are you? This is love from India. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. Welcome in, and check out our community tab. Nice to have you around. Yeah, just for for the best experience. Just for kicks. Nothing too crazy over there. Zero the Infinite says reality will be waiting after school, ready to throw hands. Well, that's what I'm saying. You can only you can only change so much in so many places, but reality always catches up. It's always waiting for you. It's waiting for you, city to city, state to state, outfit to outfit, dress to pants, pants to skirt, pants to skort, skort to dress. I digress. Philip J. Turner says America as a nation of freedom is all inclusive. Basically anything goes, but it doesn't mean it's correct. And okay, guys, so we're going to keep going. Old Head Deuce is here. How are you, Old Head Deuce? Thanks so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. So like I said, maybe they're going to stimulate the economy by creating more. Well, they're going to be woke. You'll have woke law degrees to go with the woke cases that are going to come up. Yeah, but I'm going to tell you, this is where that little area that I talked about before. But I bet the civil rights is what they're going to use. They're going to use the Civil Rights Act, of 64 to, they're going to argue it, use the 64 Civil Rights Act to say, you can't discriminate against this, this section or this part. I just think and I think they already know that. And if they end up packing the Supreme Court and all of this, it's just going to be lunacy. It's lunacy. Okay, so we're going to go on over and see what the lords on Facebook say that you can do right now, what you can talk about on the CV-19 right about now. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it on your Saturday night. So I'm going to give you guys the full screen here. According to this, Facebook no longer treating, quote, man-made CV as a crackpot idea. Facebook's policy tweak arrives as support surges in Washington for a fuller investigation into the origins of CV-19. Okay, so according to this, you have your graphic here. Facebook will no longer take down posts claiming that the CV-19 was man-made or manufactured. Well, of course, now that it's, now you can talk about it. Okay. Not to mention, Paul and the Fauci, theater that's been going on. Facebook will no longer, this is penned by Cristiano Lima, at least that's the pen name there. Facebook will no longer take down posts claiming that the CV-19 was man-made or manufactured, a company spokesperson told Politico on Wednesday, a move that acknowledges the renewed debate about the virus origins. So it's renewed. Now that's renewed, it's revived. I'm surprised they didn't use something else. Some other, their language is so, I don't know, I'll keep going here. A narrative in flux. Facebook's policy tweak arrives as support surges in Washington for a fuller investigation into the origins of the CV-19 after the Wall Street Journal reported that 3 scientists at the Wuhan Institute of Virology were hospitalized in late 2019 with symptoms consistent with the virus. The findings have reinvigorated the debate about the so-called Wuhan lab leak theory. So-called Wuhan lab leak theory. You can talk about it, but it's only so-called. It's still only so-called Wuhan lab leak theory. Once dismissed as a what? Fringe conspiracy theory. Okay, President Joe Biden said Wednesday that he has ordered the intelligence community to, quote, redouble, end quote, its efforts to find out the virus origin and report back in 90 days. Biden also revealed that the intelligence community is split between 2 theories about the COVID-19's origin and said the review will examine, quote, whether it emerged from human contact with an infected animal or from a laboratory accident, end quote. Partisan support is also building on Capitol Hill for a congressional inquiry. But the focus of late has been on the notion that the virus may have accidentally escaped from the lab. Not that it was man-made or purposely released, theories that could now propagate on Facebook. Genetic studies of the virus have found flaws in the protein it uses to bind to human cells. Those are features that someone trying to engineer a bioweapon likely would have avoided. Shifting definitions on social media. Facebook announced in February it had expanded the list of misleading health claims it would remove from its platforms to include those asserting that the CV-19 is man-made or manufactured. The tech giant has updated its policies against false and misleading CV information, including its running list of debunked claims over the course of the pandemic in consultation with global health officials. But a Facebook spokesperson said Wednesday that the origin language had been stricken from that list due to the renewable debate about the virus's roots. Quote, in light of ongoing investigations into the origin of the CV-19 and in consultation with public health experts, we will no longer remove the claim that the CV-19 is man-made from our apps, end quote. The spokesperson said in an email statement, quote, we're continuing to work with health experts to keep pace with the evolving nature of the pandemic and regularly update our policies as new facts and trends emerge. See, I'm sorry, I got to interject here. See that, but that just lets you know that even though they are going to allow you to say some things, there will still be some level of censorship. So to me, you don't have free reign to speak about it even there. Because to me, that's saying we're going to control the narrative. We're still going to, even though we say we're going to let you do that, but we're still going to monitor and continue to work with. Well, why would you be working with them? You're not, that's the Facebook is not a health institution, but they've got to speak to the people that are actually going to try to control the narrative, whether it proves to be true or false, after all, right? Okay, I'm just going to keep going here. Policies under the microscope. Social media companies have faced intense pressure from congressional Democrats to crack down more forcefully on misinformation about the virus throughout the pandemic, with House lawmakers hauling in the CEOs of Facebook, Twitter, and Google for a hearing on the matter in March. Other platforms, including Twitter, have said that misleading claims about the virus roots may also violate its policies, but Facebook's move marks the first major sign prominent social media companies are revisiting those rules as the Wuhan lab leak theory gains attention. Asked whether Twitter plans to revisit its own rules on the CV-19 origin claims, a company spokesperson said late Wednesday they had no updates to share at this time. Twitter continues to, quote, work in close consultation with global public health authorities, and quote, on the CV misinformation issues, the spokesperson said in a statement. A YouTube spokesperson confirmed in a statement Thursday that claims that the virus was man-made or originated in a lab accident do not violate the platform's policies because, quote, there has not been consensus, end quote, on its origins. So the company's policy remains unchanged. So I know I was doing some assertions in there or whatnot, but I couldn't resist. However, I will say that I think that's far from over, and I would just think, just don't get too don't get too comfortable with that. With what they're claiming is going to be a change, because I think they're going to. They're fact checkers, and we talked about the digital first responders. They're not going anywhere. They're still going to be right there and working in close consultation with these. See, this is more about, to me, going into the whole thing. We've talked about the global governance, and especially the global health governance. So everybody has to be saying the same thing worldwide, and that includes these platforms. I'm sure the We Forum has to be consulted. I'm sure the WHO has to be consulted. I'm sure all of these institutions, even though this is an American, these are US based companies, but you have to follow along with whatever their global people, whatever their consensuses are. If I'm making up a word there, their consensus is on this issue. So, but I don't think you're out of the woods. So I'm just thinking, let me just go here. And Joseph Francis Bird says, thank you, dear Facebook. Thank you for your beneficent wisdom and permission. Philip J. Turner says, they are all starting to suck really bad. No good internet sites worth wasting $1 on. And Zero the Infinite says the U.S. government will tell everyone 20 years from now, saying that they were behind the whole thing and their explanation. Joseph Francis Burton says, it's okay. I don't do Facebook either. My wife used to be addicted to Farm Town. Zero the Infinite says that YT isn't a health institution either, but they seem to have the authority to say what is correct medical information, SMH. Well, if to your point, Zero the Infinite, what is it? The CEO of YouTube basically she's already said that they're going to, in these times of the CV-19 and that they were going to be working with, basically they're working with we're dealing with a global narrative here. And that's also going to include, I would imagine that YouTube's going to stay on the same track. So they haven't released a statement on this issue, but I think it's going to be the same. She had an entire video. They're all about creating safe spaces and eliminating dangerous misinformation. And I'm sure they've got digital first responders, and the digital first responders was something that came from the UN. So they're all in lockstep with these global entities. And So yeah, so there you go. It's going to be controlled, and they're going to defer to probably the WHO and whomever else. Yeah, for U.S. based companies, right? So much for freedom of speech, right? Your freedom of speech depends on what the global health experts consensus is. Okay. All right. So hello to Mr. Mad Militant. Says they struck my page for reporting on 1,000 lawyers and 10,000 doctors that are filing charges on federal government. Ooh, that's a juicy one. I should look that one up. Should look it up without a doubt. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay. And yeah, because I do think that Simone Gold and some other people are, now I think now they're talking about things that they were pretty much blacklisted for, not a few months ago. So yeah, so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And Philip J. Turner said that's a big lawsuit. And Zero the Infinite says, I would ask her what is this quote what this dangerous information is. Well, there's a video somewhere out there. I wanted to do an entire thing on it because I was curious about that myself, but I just decided I kind of lost track of it. Let's see. And Zero the Infinite says, let me guess, Mr. Mad Militant, they labeled the video for medical misinformation. Well, they're not going to issue any apologies for anything. So, it's like, what? Okay, so like I said, I just, I wouldn't get too excited about, you're not getting restored, First Amendment on that. I think because there again, Washington is, they don't want anything coming out of Washington before. Yeah, they just want to control. They want to control the people that are actually, getting alternative news and what we say and what we put out. So once again, I want to thank everybody for coming in on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn on your Saturday. That is, I really appreciate it. And yeah, so I'm just going to do a couple of infomercials and then we're going to sign off on your Saturday / I'm sure it's Sunday for some of you by now, but I appreciate it. And we will be right back. Guys, and I want to thank you guys as always for tuning into this segment of Black Spring Autumn on our Testy but Jukebox Saturday night.
show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, or music, please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Marcy T., Joseph Francis Burton, Paralysis by Analysis, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back right after this.
All right, guys. And once again, thank you so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I just want to say salute and have a great rest of your Saturday/Sunday and from the chat. And thank you guys so much for sharing out the stream. Thank you to the Native Conservative. Thank you so much for sharing it out. And Maria 6. Thank you for sharing out the stream. I really appreciate it. You guys are most generous to help us out there. And yes, I thank you so much. So I want to thank so much to Zero the Infinite for coming in and chopping it up with the Kwame Brown and yeah, the weekend Kwame Brown, the weekend Mama's cooking. So thank you so much for that. And I appreciate all you do for coming in and supporting the channel. Thank you so much. As well as we had DJ Vision Barnett. DJ, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. And Old School Wolf Media. It's always nice to have you around. Thank you so much. And good night to you. And the Native Conservative, thank you so much for coming in and supporting and for sharing us out. You know, it takes extra fire to share us out around here. And also Joseph Francis Burton, thank you so much for supporting the channel and for, being here and definitely keeping us on our toes. And we also have Philip J. Turner. It's nice to see you. Nice to have you in. Thank you so much for coming in and for sharing what's happening in your neck of the woods. And it's always nice to hear what's happening in your guys' neck of the woods because I happen to be on the left coast at the moment. And yes, at the moment. And Milan Giesing, thank you for coming in from India. Thank you. And Old Head Deuce, thank you so much, Old Head Deuce, for tuning in. I appreciate it. And for you've been around for a little while. I meant to do something a little extra in terms of something commemorative a little bit, but maybe we'll save it for the next stream because it's been about a year. Some of you have been around for about a year. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And always stimulating, never dull moment with Old Head Deuce. Thank you. And Mr. Mad Militant, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. And thanks for sharing that information on filing the charges. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And it looks like that's going to round us out. All right, guys. Well, once again, I really appreciate it. And I may have an article from our friends over at CFFS, that's Citizens for Free Speech. And it looks like I have something that I will be posting up there. So keep your eye out. It should be done, I guess, within the next 24, 48 hours. I'll have that out for you. And thank you guys so much for tuning in on the Testy but Jukebox Saturday night. All right, guys. Thank you so much again. And if you did not have an opportunity to hit that like button, you still have an opportunity before the close of the stream. And I'm going to be saying over and out, guys.